like, I want to know how you explain this to your clients when they ask if there's a certain amount of weight that they should be increasing their lifts from week to week. Because that's a common question I'll get asked is like, how much should I be increasing my weight every week? So how would you answer
that? Yeah, I get it a lot with like, I'm not progressing in usually pressing for girls. How do I answer it though?
I can answer it if you want me to.
Yeah, you can start.
So I don't think there's a percentage of weight that has to be increased every week. You have to have the mindset of, I'm trying to increase the overall performance of the session compared to the last session. So I'm like, most of the time when people are asking this question, like they're like, beginner pushing to an intermediate, maybe they've done maybe the exercise is new, or maybe it's like at the start of the program.
Yeah.
And then they're like, starting probably way too lighter in the program, and then just rapidly progressing with the weight, because all they're doing is just catching up to what their actual capability of the exercise is, and then all of a sudden it drops off, and they're like, well, hang on a minute, I was up in at like 5 kilos every week before, and now I'm like can barely do another rep, and that's when you're like, well, it all has to go off the parameters, which are the acceptable range of motion for you to perform the exercise to target the muscle tissue. And then when you do that, you think about lifting more kilos or more weight when the subjective difficulty of the set drops.
Yeah.
Or you just like sometimes I'm like, you're trying to build that autonomy into the clients. I'm like, just fuck around and find out, man.
Yeah.
Like, just don't do it on an exercise that's dangerous.
Yeah.
So if you're back squatting and you're like kind of topping out, or you're like, maybe there was another rep, like, don't do it there.
Yeah.
Do it on the leg press. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Like, fuck, I'll just put the latch in. Like, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Or on the leg extension, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's just going to go back to the resting position. So, yeah, I think I just like to go off that subjective difficulty. And then I'm always like just trying to give my clients the confidence to just get after it a little bit. I'm like, there's no rules here.
Yeah.
You should just try to lift a little bit more, but make sure you don't do that in like taking the technique away from the set, I
think like you mentioned percentages at the start. That's something that I kind of bounce back to, because generally for me, it's like my lat raise or my bench press or my whatever hasn't improved. I'm like, okay, well, you're benching 40 kilos. So to jump to 40, even 42 and a half, it's a 5% jump. More, like, that's a big step. Would you expect to squat 100 and do 105 next week?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, like I probably go up by 2.5.
Absolutely.
Figure that out, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so remember, percentage wise, it's a big step. It's a big jump from the 8 kilo dumbbell to the 9 to the 10 kilo dumbbell. Absolutely. From the 10 to the 12.5 is huge.
Yeah.
So pursue those reps. So then with like strength stuff, a lot of the time it's just form improvement too.
Yeah.
It's like, are you more stable? Is the bar speed better? Like, there's little micro improvements that you're looking for that isn't just load on the bar. And especially when you're prescribing with lower rep stuff, like at a 5, it's usually not 5 to 7. It's like you're doing 5, chase load, but it's micro progression in elbow position, touch point. How long was your pause? Like, there's progression happening that's just not logged.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're kind of refining the performance of it.
Yeah.
And that, like, there's other movements. There's movements are going to dictate like where the progression is as well. Because like a single jointed exercise, like, you're not going to be able to like exponentially increase the weight from set to set, and it's partly like predicated on the equipment you have available to you. So like, you get over a 10 kilo dumbbell, like the next jump isn't 10.5 to 11 to 12.5. It's 2.5 kilos.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, I can't use weight progression, a standardized weight progression every week as a metric of success, because I'm not going to be able to do that. So then that's when you're like, well, the two drivers of progression generally in a session are your weight moved or the reps.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, if I can't move up in weight, let's see if I can try and get reps. And then if I'm getting too many reps and then I feel like I could lift a little bit more weight, you may do slightly less reps, but over time, you're going to do more reps at that weight than you previously did. And that's what you got to look at. So I think like, obviously it's confusing as a lifter, like when you don't have that confidence, but I think if you just go at it from those parameters and just have a bit more time, like, you'll be fine. And
look at look at your whole session for progress as well, not one exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we always lean into like a longer program length too. So you'll get to a point where the progression will drop off, and you think you've hit a plateau, but you will, I guess, like push a little bit further, and see a little bit more progress, and that's like actual progress, as well. All right, see if we can ask you a few more questions just to get a little bit more value into this pod. When would you consider doing a full body program over like something like a split-based program that's isolating specific muscle groups?
Time and frequency sensitive programs. It's like 3 day a week.
It's also, we're actually going to go real deep on this in the next episode, so that's a really good question. But yeah, I would say like the goals as well. Like if it's like you heavily like kind of need to work on a specific area to bring up a physique for the look you like too. It doesn't always have to be symmetry. Yeah. Because like girls aren't symmetrical these days. Their lower bodies are way bigger than their upper bodies. Yeah. So I think if you are doubling down on that, then like maybe going in on the split is a bit better. Yeah. If you want just like full body and time is, or the frequency is a bit lower, a full body program's great. The only downside to full body, in my opinion, is like you need to make sure you've got adequate recovery between the sessions. Yeah. So you've just got to think about the density of work that's done in those sessions. You know,
spreading it out.
Yeah, it's spreading it out. How do you know? Oh, this is a tough one. How do you know how much stimulus is enough per session before it turns to junk volume? Isn't that a good question? It's a great question. How would you know?
It's got to be in performance, right?
I think it'd have to do with the drop off.
It's the ability to get within the target rep and reserve. I think, because I reckon once you're cooked, you just stop.
So I'm pretty like research wise, I think it's like 11 to 12 sets. Don't ask me how they measure it because I didn't actually watch the whole YouTube video. But I'm pretty sure it's like I think it had to do with like
a train lifter.
Well, they measure motor unit recruitment. I'm pretty sure. So obviously there would be like after that 11th set a significant drop in motor unit recruitment because the fatigue would be so high.
That's one muscle group.
Yeah, that's per muscle group. Yeah, so that's 11 sets. Yeah, so that would be like 3 exercises. You know. Yeah. So because it says per session here, and then before it turns into junk volume, which like,
well, that if theoretically, if you're going to train 2 body parts, it's 22 sets a workout.
Yeah, but I wonder if the second exercise
compounds, you know.
So what would happen?
Like 8 each.
Well, what I think would happen is say 11 sets, and then like it starts to turn into junk volume for that muscle group, but then on the second exercise, I reckon it would halve it. Because fatigue is still compounding over the session, which is affecting the performance of the workout. So it's not like everything just resets after you. Like I'll just pick another exercise and start again, right? So I think it would just like come on twofold, like the fatigue or factors influencing performance. So so then maybe, and this is just me speculating, then if you look at it that way, a total ceiling of volume for a session could be around 18 sets. Possibly.
Yeah. And then you've got the how
17.
hard that's 18 sets.
Well, they're training.
If your first two are built up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I know when I was looking at that particular video and when I've looked at the data, they call them training sets. So they're stimulatory sets. Yeah. So like hard sets. But what is considered a hard set is like what? Like within 3 reps in reserve? Like it's just so broad, like, Yeah. Anyway. But I thought it was a pretty good question.
I think what they're asking is probably more of a feel. And I think if you're unable to push your sets to a decent proximity to failure, like you're already done.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes
if you've done fucking squats into leg press into walking lunge and then you're on the leg extension and you're just like, can't be fucked. And you like, you're miles away from real failure. Like it's mental fatigue, then that's junk volume for me.
Yeah, I think I know when I go through some exercises like towards the end, I'm like, this isn't fucking doing anything. Like when I think like that, I'm like, that's probably too much. All right, we'll do a couple more and we'll try and answer them faster than that because we're not very good at this. How can I build muscle with fewer sets if the intensity is high enough?
Yes.
I agree. I think some people can. I don't think all people can.
If you're well trained and you're good at training.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like again, we've talked about in the past what it took to get the muscles, not necessarily what it takes to keep it. Like there are parts of your training career where you're going to need to have like higher training volumes, like, you know, and you're going to just have to see how your body responds. You'll just get to a point where you like try that and you're like, oh fuck, I feel a bit achy, or I'm not getting the results that I want, and then you'll try another method and you'll go, oh, this sits really well for me. Some people are going to like high volume, some people are not. That's why, like, you know, you look at the last 15 Mr. Olympias, like they all fucking train differently, you know, like. I think the proof's kind of there in terms of like there's so many ways to kind of get there. Let's have a look.